Hello, guys, and welcome to the Good Space with your girl Leonette. Today, I am joined by a dear friend and fellow mental health advocate, Nicole.
Hi everyone.
Oh, if you could just give a little introduction to the listeners, like who are you? What do you do? Like, how do you define yourself?
Okay, let me give you a little, lowdown. So basically, I'm Nicole. I go by Nicole Leonie, and I am currently a behavioural health counsellor, and I am counselling in Qatar at the moment. I really love mental health and to advocate for it because, in different countries, mental health is seen as being crazy or such a stigma, but it's something that we all need to learn about. And I'm such an advocate for that. So that's me, really.
Nicole, that is so good to hear, and I love that you've taken it international. That is brilliant. It's
Thank you so
amazing.
much.
I'm really happy to have you on today. So, let's get into a little discussion. So, my first question for you today is, what is your definition of a mental health advocate?
Okay, so as mentioned, I'd probably say mental health advocate is somebody who genuinely stands for the importance of mental health. Like all of us, we all know what our physical health is like. We know when we're healthy, we know when we're not feeling too well. Okay, if we're not feeling too well, oh, okay, let me take paracetamol or let me drink some tea or, things like that. We know exactly to go to the doctors when we know that something genuinely isn't wrong. But I feel like with mental health, there isn't necessarily any information on that. And mental health is just as important as physical health. Like, if your mental health isn't great, it always affects your physical health. And that's one thing everybody needs to know. Yeah. So I usually like to go out there and usually particularly in like cultures.
Yeah,
So for example, like with African culture and Asian culture as well. Because specifically that's where it's like, oh, it's crazy, it's demonic. And that's not a way to treat mental health. Because imagine if somebody did have like, let's say depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, and they're hearing, oh, it's demonic. Can you imagine how bad it would make the person feel?
honestly.
Yeah. So I just like to let them know about what depression, what anxiety is, what the physical aspect could do to an individual. And it's just important to do those things. So that's why I'm an advocate for that. Honestly, I really am.
Oh, you're doing such important work, and I think that is an amazing definition. I definitely agree with everything you said.
Thank you so much.
So, my next question is, what actually sparked an interest in this? So, was it like your studies? Because, I see you do it with work as well. Or was it a personal story? What sparked your interest?
So you know what? I was just kind of reviewing my life or whatever. And I picked up my personal statements. You write your personal statement when you're like probably like 17,
Yeah,
4 years
yeah,
ago. Yeah. So on my personal statement, it literally said from the age that I was 15, I want to study minds and do mental health and everything.
that's
So,
amazing.
how old am I now? Nearly 28. So literally from that time, even before that, I think one thing that I genuinely loved as I was younger is I love to listen to people. Like I
Mm,
love to listen to people, understand where they're coming from, be empathetic. And then if there's any advice that I can give, then that's exactly what I love to do. Sometimes as an individual, I don't necessarily have all the answers,
of course.
but then at the same time, people just genuinely want to be listened to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like the world is so rushed, everything's like back and forth and everything. But it's important to sit down and genuinely listen to someone and be like, how are you? How are you genuinely? Don't just say, I'm fine. Like, I'm here to listen to you. So see
Yeah,
how you feel. Yeah.
yeah,
So
I agree.
yeah. Yeah,
I
that's
agree. And I think something that you said, it's easy to say that, but also giving people like the space to feel comfortable. And I feel you do that well because it's like, oh, okay, I want to speak about all these issues. But if the person doesn't seem genuinely interested or like they
no,
genuinely just want to, not even to give you the perfect advice, but they just want you to get it out.
yeah. Hmm.
So I think it's about giving them that space. So I think that that's really, really true.
Oh, thank you. And
So you,
honestly,
sorry, go on.
I think yeah, so studying like psychology, like just to get like an understanding of what psychology is in general.
Hmm.
Did my I noticed there was one part of psychology that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. I studied it, I said, nah, that's not the one that I want to be doing. was like, I quite like the social aspect of psychology, so let
Yeah.
me do that in my master's. And that
Yeah.
was really good, actually. Yeah.
So like what, so if you don't mind going into just a bit more detail, so was it more like the Freudian things that you were like, ugh, and then the social part you were like, what actually took your fancy?
Okay. So, okay. What took my fancy?
Yeah,
So I'd probably say like just genuinely wanting to understand what the clinical aspect of, let's say, like depression and anxiety, like what triggers it.
yeah.
Is it biological? Is it like through genes?
Hmm.
Like I kind of wanted to, there's no like straight answer to it.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to get like different aspects and different understandings of where people are coming from.
Hmm.
And to be honest, still now I'm trying to see, oh, okay, like what's what's the trigger and
Yeah.
everything. And I'm continuously doing that because with psychology and with mental health, it's not something that you study. It's not like maths, one
Yeah.
plus two is three.
Yeah.
It's forever evolving.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably what I'd say.
I think
Yeah.
that's so interesting. Oh my
Thank
God,
you.
that sounds so interesting. And in all that you're learning, is there anything like the biggest myth around mental health that you feel needs dispelling?
The biggest myth. Okay, so one thing that I would say is that we have TikTok and Instagram and everything, and then there'll be people that say, "Oh, like I have ADHD, so this is the symptoms," or "I have autism, this is the symptoms." I feel like some people pick up symptoms and they're like, "Oh, I have this," so it's a lot of self-diagnosis when they haven't actually gone to check if they
Yeah.
genuinely have that.
Yeah.
It's like you're taking advantage of people that genuinely do have ADHD,
Yeah.
might have to go to psychotherapy and take medication. Like, how does that make the other person feel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should take that more seriously. And people, I'd say another thing is some people take that and use that as an excuse to misbehave or just to do what they want and blame, you know,
ADHD.
how they're acting.
Mm-hmm.
Said it's not fair for people who might have like depression, anxiety, psychosis. That's not fair at all for them. Yeah. So I'd
Oh,
probably
I
say
really agree. I've been seeing that a lot. Both
yeah,
things you said, I have actually been seeing a lot of self-diagnosis. And I think with ADHD, to be specific, what it is people are now finding out all this information and all these things that could be a symptom of it and applying it to themselves.
yes, yes, yes. Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm. I
Like
think this is why it's important to have as much information as
yeah,
you can before, because there's just a surplus of information coming out right now, and everyone's like, that sounds like me, that sounds like
yeah.
me.
Mhm. Definitely. And I feel like there's like a surge of people that have ADHD as well. And for some people, it's like they don't find out till they're like 25. So can you imagine all the stress that they go through in
Yeah,
school, college, or uni? Like
yeah,
it's a lot.
yeah.
So I also feel that people should have the chance to kind of, um, let's say, do a test.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know what it is. Yeah, but
Hmm.
basically do a test to make sure, okay, this is something that's out of the clear. That if there's any way that we can help you, then that's great. But I'm sure I know people that have had ADHD. They've literally stressed so much that
Hmm.
found out after uni, and then it's like I could have got the help that I needed, but I didn't know this until I've completely done everything. So can you imagine how much stress and anxiety they had?
Honestly,
Yeah.
like, and the test, what I remember, you would
Mm.
only get tested if you were exhibiting really, it has to be out there, your
Yeah.
symptoms. And
Okay.
ADHD doesn't show up like that in girls.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
of
Yeah.
course, it was being missed.
Yeah. Exactly. I think people assume that it was like a little boy who's rocking on his
Yeah,
chair, and then like jumping and
yeah,
fighting and everything.
yeah.
But it's like females, they might be more like reserved. And
Hmm.
you don't
Hmm.
know what's going through the girl's mind and everything.
Yes,
So yeah.
it's so
Mhm.
true. And is there a coping mechanism that you have applied to your life that has been helpful and that you would advise others to try?
Okay, so coping mechanism. Let me think and see. I think personally with me, because I'm a Christian, like I usually pray a lot. I think prayer helps because there's
Yeah,
times where I'm literally like, listen, I don't have an answer to what I need to do. So God, I'm literally just leaving it all to
yeah.
you.
Praying on my life. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
actually, I think my coping mechanism is faith. That's
yeah,
literally all it is.
yeah.
And I think counseling would help as well. I guess for a lot of people and what they've told me, with the counselors that they need, it has to be like the counselor has to understand them. So, for example, like one person, let's say like a black person, they'd
Mhm,
prefer to have like a black counselor because maybe
mhm.
counselor will be understanding,
Yep,
or like a Christian.
yep.
Yeah. So I feel like when I have opportunities to talk to people, like especially like one of my best friends actually, she studied psychology and she wants to go into like clinical psychology or
Mhm.
counseling. Like if I'm feeling really stressed, like I know that I can talk to her because she'll kind of understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
It gives me the open space to talk about how I feel.
Mhm.
And that's such a blessing as well because, like I'm listening to everyone and I genuinely love listening. I genuinely love hearing people. But sometimes I want to talk.
I get it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I want to let it out. So I'm
Yeah,
just so grateful that I have my mom
yeah,
and my sister, close friends. Yeah.
yeah,
So that's probably what I'd say. So I'd say
yeah,
prayer and just having good friends, a good support system, especially like having a friend who wants to go into psychology and actually is an assessing psychologist as well. So
yeah. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Thank
Yeah.
God.
I want to throw a little curveball here and ask, like, what is it you're doing now? Is it centered like your career? Is that centered around mental health as well?
Yes, it is.
Tell
So
us a little bit about it.
got me excited, didn't
I
you?
literally, I got excited, you know, I just want to hear about it all, and I knocked my glasses off my face. What am I like? Yeah, tell us a bit about that, like about your role and what you're doing, and yeah, give us a little goss.
That's fine. So I'm currently a behavioral health counselor in Qatar, and I'm literally just working with individuals and families who feel like they need to speak about how they're feeling or if there's any ways in which they could be helped. I think it's genuinely rewarding because the thing is, as I said, like in terms of like cultures and everything, like people like Africans, Asians, they tend to shun the whole mental health aspect of things. But they could, be going through things where they're not sleeping properly, they're not eating properly, they're just keeping everything in their head. So when they come to me, I'm literally just like, it's okay, just let it out. There's no judgment zone here. And like just being able to see them express how they're feeling. Sometimes like the people have the opportunity to cry and it's just like I'm sure that's built in for ages because you've had to keep that in.
Yeah,
But because you've been so strong to come for counseling, like you see how, open and strong that you are to do this. And usually it can be quite daunting for them to come to a counseling session at first.
yeah,
But then once we're over and we're done with the session, you can see the happiness in their face. It's so genuinely nice. And they actually genuinely want to come back. So they'll come back for their next session. And
oh, amazing.
yeah, it's so nice. So, so nice. Yeah.
I can imagine that is so rewarding, like especially seeing the
Yeah.
change in them, like you know when you can see someone's shoulders start to relax and
Yeah.
their, the whole
Yeah.
demeanor changes, and it's like, you know
Yeah.
what, I can do this.
Literally. That it's just so nice.
Yeah, that is such rewarding work. Well done, Nicole. That's amazing.
Thank you so much.
How are you finding Qatar, just in general? How are you finding it?
I love it. I can't laugh.
Like this is so sick. Yeah.
Yeah, like I genuinely love it. Like it's very peaceful here and it's safe by the grace of God. Like
Mhm.
there's good people. Like it's very multicultural. So
Mhm.
there's not just like one ethnic group. It's
Yeah.
like there's like Africans, there's people from the US, there's people like Filipinos, Indians. So it's kind of like you
Even
can't,
London.
yeah, yeah, like it's so multicultural and you learn from different places. Like, for example, obviously I'm from the UK and from Ghana. So obviously, like being in London, you meet a lot of Nigerians, you
Yeah.
meet Ghanaians, you meet people from Zimbabwe. Fine, cool, that's normal. But I've come to Qatar now and I've met a someone from Malawi,
Oh,
someone from Uganda. Like it's just amazing because
yeah.
I didn't meet anybody from those places, so it's so nice. Yeah, it's really
That
really
sounds like an amazing experience,
nice.
honestly. And the work you're doing sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any advice for anyone who wants to get into your line of work?
So I'd probably say get as much experience as you can. That's the most important thing. And also, if you want to work abroad, you have to study. Like, there's no two ways about it. Especially if you want to study in places like the Middle East,
Mm,
I think you at least need to do your get up to your masters
mm,
for them to be like, okay, like, and also just have the experience too. And genuinely, if you want to get into psychology and mental health and counseling, genuinely just be a person that wants to listen to others, that
yeah.
wants to encourage others as well. You can't just be like, oh yeah, I want to be a psychologist. I know A, B, C, D, because that's not the way it is.
Hmm.
You can be getting A stars and get like a first and so on. And you know all the theories and stuff. But if you're not somebody who's going to sit there and genuinely listen and help the person, then you're not necessarily fulfilling the job and the role that you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely say that. I think that's key.
Good. Yeah. Thank you for your advice. I
You
think
know
we're
what?
done. So,
Thank you so much.
yeah, so I just want to say thank you for coming on and sharing your nuggets of wisdom, letting us know what you're doing, and also like thank
Yeah,
you for the work that you're doing. It's really important,
thank
and hopefully someone watches this and it sparks that interest in them. They're like, "Do you know what? I'm a really empathetic person. I'm a listener, and I'm trying
you.
to work out like what my career journey should be, and this gives them, an idea."
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you for sharing.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add as well.
Cool.
Like sometimes it's quite difficult. Like I feel like a lot more people should go into psychology because I know
Hmm.
that in the UK there's not that many psychologists and everything. So it's so hard for people to get help when they're like in a crisis. Like it's definitely quite hard. Also, like I feel like the government should definitely, bring more people on to that. Bring more people onto like counseling, psychology, like therapists, like because that's what's genuinely needed.
Yeah,
It's genuinely needed in the UK and the US. And also what can be done as well is when like we have children or when we're talking to people in primary school, you know how we learn about the reproductive
yeah,
systems and all that stuff. We should also incorporate mental health in this as
yeah.
well. So they know, okay, like this is good, this is bad, or this is how I can cope. It's things like that that need to be done. Yeah. It
I
needs
agree completely. That would normalize the conversation from such a young age that it doesn't become this shock horror when you're 17 and you have these feelings inside you and you can't put a name to them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I have a question.
Oh my God, not a question shot. Yes,
So, what do you feel mental health means personally to you?
for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, it is more, it was a personal development, I would say. Um, oh, I was one of those people that was always seen as like a very happy person. And then I got to an age and I was all of a sudden no longer happy.
Okay.
And what I mean by happy was outwardly happy, uh,
Yeah.
laughing loud.
Yeah.
And then also it started to eat me up inside as well.
Okay.
But I had no names for these things, Nicole, for these emotions, for these feelings. I
Yeah.
didn't know what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't educated on it, and I associated things like anxiety and depression with
Mm.
like your anxiety is crippling,
Yeah.
you you can't go out, you're
Yeah.
shaking, you know?
Yeah.
Your depression is you are bedbound, you
Yeah.
cannot do things, you cannot work.
Yeah.
Um, so surely I can't have these things because
Yeah.
I find myself to work, I find myself at lectures. It's hard, but I get there, you know. When I need to fake it, I can fake it. So surely it's not crippling.
Yeah.
Um, so at that time, I didn't have a definition for mental health because I didn't think what I was going through was on the spectrum of mental health.
Yeah. Mhm.
Whereas now, like you said in the beginning, like having a cold, um,
Yeah.
well, I just see it as like it's a spectrum
Yeah.
and we're always on it. Everyone has mental health, and it's just about where, at that current time, where you sit on that
Yeah.
spectrum, like
Exactly.
how you're feeling. I've tried to change my language around it. Like, I don't want to say I have anxiety, but I can say I am
Uh,
feeling anxious today. On the spectrum, today, Leo is anxious, Leo is antsy. So, what can she do to make herself feel a bit better today?
yeah.
What can she do? What coping mechanisms work? And the
Yeah.
same with my depression.
Yeah.
Um, I understand with other things like bipolar and schizophrenia, it's still a spectrum, but it's different in
Yeah.
terms of like if you have been diagnosed with that, you're most likely you do need to be on a medication.
Yeah.
Ensure that you don't go on the end of the spectrum where you're at harm to yourself and things like that. But I do see it as a spectrum that we're
Yeah.
all on, and
Mm.
we all need to be mindful and do something about it.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head, girl.
Yeah. Like, do you know, I feel like when you see when I realized that it felt less scary. Like, do you know, we
Yeah.
all have this. How do I
Yeah.
feel? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I just wanted to touch on what you said, sorry, when you said what the government could do better.
yeah.
Um, as someone who at a point was trying to study to become a therapist, I'll
Yeah.
be honest as to what put me off. It was the funds, Nicole. So that
Yeah.
is something they need to start doing, like a bursary, like they did for nursing back in the day.
Yeah. Definitely.
Like pay for or fund part of the education, something, make it so like you don't have to cut back hours at work. Anything that means I can still study and maybe still work or still have enough money to get by,
Yeah.
then I can do that because I found it hard, and I know there'll be people who are even in like worse positions who would want to do this, but it's like I have to make sure I'm working a certain hours a week to provide for this person, etc., etc. So
Yeah.
yeah, the government need to do that.
They do. They do. They need to sort that out ASAP because that's not right at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And listen, you be an advocate for that because you can do it.
It's true. Let me go march up to 10 Downing Street, start a little petition. Why not?
Gosh.
Oh, honestly, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Do you have any more questions for me before I
No, I don't.
okay.
Hopefully we can, have
We'll do
like
this again?
like this again.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
really hope so. Yeah.
yeah. Did you want to plug anything before we went out, like your socials or anything that you're working on, anything you want to let the people know of?
Basically, if anybody just genuinely wants to talk about anything, any information about study or just like about how you feel and coping mechanisms, then just feel free to DM me. So my Instagram is Nicole Leonie XOX, I think. Yeah, yeah, Nicole Leonie XOX. So that's NicoleLeoneXOX. Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, I'm gonna put that in the description as well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fine. That's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you guys. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much, Nicole. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye.